אנשים שלא יכולו להצטרף, וגם נשלח לכם בהמשך את ההקלטה. I have the pleasure to host a dear friend of mine, Zlata. She is a senior account manager at BitTitan, and she is in charge of the Israeli market as well as EMEA. אז בעוד כמה דקות זלטה תדגים לנו פה פרויקט מיגרציה באמצעות BitTitan. אנחנו גם נזכור את כל היתרונות החשובים, שביניהם אני מבליטה כעת את היתרונות העיקריים. אין צורך בהתקנה של agent, אין צורך בהתקנה של חומרה, הכל מתנהל באמצעות פורטל מרחוק. והיתרון הקריטי הנוסף הוא ה-Pre-Stage Migration, שזלטה תדבר עליו בהרחבה. הרעיון הוא להעביר את החומר מראש לפני ה-Cut-off Date, כדי שב-Cut-off Date אנחנו נצטרך להתמודד רק עם דלתאות, וכל השגיאות והטעויות שעלולות להיווצר במיגרציה יתגלו מראש. וזה מעביר אותי לשקף הבא. זלטה, could you please forward the slide? אוקיי, אז למה בעצם אנחנו כדאי לבחור בכלי מיגרציה אוטומטיים? כי מיגרציה ידנית היא מיגרציה מסובכת, אנחנו צריכים לשריין עובדים למיגרציה הזאת, ולפעמים מחוץ לשעות העבודה. יש בינינו ממש עכשיו פה שותף שביום שישי בצהריים עוד התכתב איתי. זה נמשך לפעמים הרבה מאוד שעות לשעות הלילה, וזה גולש גם לפעמים לשעות העבודה של העסק, ובכך זה גם מנטרל את העסק ואת העובדים. ואנחנו רואים הרבה מאוד טעויות שקורות במיגרציה ידנית, הרבה מאוד עובדים מגיעים בבוקר שאחרי המיגרציה, ומתלוננים שהם איבדו את אנשי הקשר, שהיומן נמחק, כל הפגישות ביומן נמחקו וכו'. ואז אנחנו באמת פה כדי להציע לכם את המיגרציה האוטומטית של BitTitan בעלויות מאוד נמוכות ומאוד משתלמות. And Zlata, please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michal. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for making the time today. I really appreciate it. I'm hearing about BitTitan and from myself as well. So as Michal said, I'm Zlata Rogic. I go by the title of Senior Account Manager. In essence, this means that I look after the market in EMEA and Israel, including. Here are my direct contact details, so should you feel that you have any questions after this presentation, I'll be more than happy to answer. In addition, today, at the end, you'll receive the PPT and as well as the recording, and at the end, there will be a surprise, only if you stay until the end. So we'll provide you a gift. With that said, today, I will tell you a little bit more about BitTitan, and as well as focusing on the migrations, obviously, on specific two scenarios, which are tenant to tenant, meaning cloud to cloud, Office 365 to Office 365 migration, and as well as Google to Office 365. The support options you have, the licensing, and then at the end, I will be able also to share a little bit on the demo, looking at the product itself, migration with. Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to use the IM window or unmute yourself. I will be pausing throughout the presentations to allow that we have a conversation rather than me having a monologue. I hope that will be fine with you. And that said, let's dive a little bit into BitTitan. So just a little bit of history perspective. We have been on the market a little over a decade now. We have migrated 19 million users, 43,000 customers, 187 countries. I've been involved in about 2 to 3 million users so far in my 5 years of BitTitan, where I've helped understand what the tool can and cannot do, and as well as the best practices. So what does BitTitan actually migrate? We initially started at the time of bpost, so it was mainly just concerning about mail items. As you know, today mail is the easy bit of a migration. And with time, we've actually developed a tool to support documents. When I mention documents, I mean OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drives, archives. So if it's on Exchange, we will be able to migrate the Mailbox archives, the Gvault, which is part of the Google ecosystem. We also have a tool to reconfigure Outlook post-migration. And the latest additions to our products are SharePoint Online and Teams to Teams. All right, so we are, and now I'll dive a little bit more into those as well, should you feel that you have Teams to Teams or SharePoint Online to SharePoint Online migrations. So on the right-hand side here on the slide, you would actually see the UI, which I'll show you live later at the end of the presentation, so you can actually see it. So you can get a hint that the tool is 100% SaaS, meaning that you don't have any on-prem footprint to perform the migrations. It's very easy to set up. It takes about 10 minutes. You'll see it later on. But in essence, the takeaway from this, I would like you to know, it's just a website. It's not a complex process to commence and start a migration. Where are we hosted? We are actually hosted in Azure. So we leverage Microsoft data centers. We're live in most of them. So what we advise is that you typically use the source to use the data center closest to the destination. So in this way, you will ensure that data is secured and is being migrated within the same regional data center from a security and compliance, but also from a throughput. Right? It is a much speedier migration when you're migrating within EMEA rather than floating data to the US and back. Which brings me to the third point, we're secure and compliant. We use all the certifications, so please, if you want to have more information about security and compliance, please let me know and I'll provide documentation. The other 2 points that I would like to really also focus on is that we are enterprise ready, meaning that the tool is with a flexible infrastructure. And when I mean with that, I mean with elastic compute. The tool doesn't have a minimum or maximum number of users that can be migrated at the same time concurrently. So you can migrate one user, but you can migrate also 10,000 users. And this is because of the elastic compute that we have in Azure. Addition to that, if you are having a larger project, we have further automation into that, which is the PowerShell SDK. It's not fun having to migrate 10,000 users via a website, a UI. Hence, we have scripts where you can automate those batches, start, stop, import the users for the migration using PowerShell SDK. As I mentioned earlier, should you want more information, please let me know. So what do we migrate and from where? So this slide really shows the source and destinations that we support. So starting from the left-hand side, the first workload is Mail. So it's Exchange Online, Exchange On-Prems, Zimbras, Gmail, Lotus Notes, GroupWise, Zimbra, name it. We will be moving it to Exchange Online. IMAP and POP are also part of our catalog. From a document perspective, we have Dropbox, file shares, Google Drives, and obviously OneDrive. The SharePoint, same thing, file servers, SharePoint on-prem, SharePoint online, Google shared drives. Moving to the next one is Teams to Teams. This is the hottest topic that we're seeing lately. And then we have the reconfiguration of Outlook, which is part of the tenant-to-tenant migration. So tenant-to-tenant, this is what we migrate when we are talking about tenant-to-tenant. Obviously, the whole mailbox content, meaning mail, contacts, calendar, tasks, notes, the rest of it, the archive, the PSTs, the in-whole data, should that be also enabled, public folders, and the private chats from a Teams perspective. So we support the Teams-to-Teams migration, which is further on the right-hand side, as you can see. So Teams channel, conversations, document permissions, and OneNote. But the private chats are part of the mailbox content. And this is simply because Microsoft is currently storing that into the mailbox. And we don't have currently capabilities to migrate hydrated private chats. When I mean private chats, these are one-to-one chats, group chats, or for example, chats that are happening in this kind of meetings, for example. So those are the only meetings that will be migrated within the mailbox itself. Within the mailbox goes in hand the Outlook reconfiguration. The Outlook reconfiguration will be able to help you with reconfigure the Outlook, obviously attach PSTs, maintain the autocompletes, which is also pretty cool, and the signatures. So this is what the Outlook reconfiguration, which is called Deployment Pro at BitTitan. OneDrive, documents permission, folder structure, that is also being migrated. And our latest entry, which I told you earlier, are SharePoint Online to SharePoint Online, where we're now also able to migrate the versions and metadata where previously we were not able to. And the last one, which I earlier mentioned, Microsoft Teams, channels, the conversations, documents, permissions, and OneNote. Here, the conversations that are mentioned are the conversations that are happening in the channel itself. So the whole conversation will be migrated between, the team that is participating in that conversation, with the exception of the reactions. So thumbs up, hearts, smileys, whatever reactions were made. Those are the only ones that we don't support, but I believe people can live with that. With this slide, I'll just pause for a few seconds. Any questions around tenant-to-tenant migrations, any M&A activities that you might have, and you have any questions, please let me know. I'm either doing a good job or a really bad job.
No. Good job.
All right, good. Okay, so I'll move
Very
on.
good, thanks.
All right, good. So let's move to the Google Workspace. So recently, I'm trying to also change my vocabulary from G Suite. Now it's a Google Workspace to Office 365 to M365 migrations. I'm including this because very often in the recent year, I have seen that in the Israeli market, there is quite a bit of Google hanging around there. And here is a slide of what we can actually do and not do with Google. Starting again from the left-hand side, the Gmail, inbox, folders, labels, emails that are muted, contacts, calendars, calendar notification, Google categories, and the chat history is something new. And this is simply because we upgraded our API to Google. So currently we're using the Google native API. In the past, we were using a mixture between IMAP for the mail content, and we were using contacts and calendars and tasks with the Google API. This API has been upgraded and is now available to support the Google categories and chat history. What you would, perhaps I missed it also earlier to say it on the Teams, is that you would need a super admin account with access to the users that need to be migrated. In the Exchange Online, you need admin credentials to the users that need to be migrated. So it's a very similar setup that you would need. The second vertical is the G-Vault. G-Vault is the archive of Google. For today, we only migrate the email and the folders of those accounts. These might be people that have left already the company within the Google, right, while they were there, and due to some security or compliance reasons, they have to keep the data. We are able to support the migration of the mail components. We are still unable to support the Drive archived data. All right, so we're talking only about suspended or so-called inactive users in Google. If there is a live user, meaning a user that is still active and is being pursuing at work and has Google Drives, we will be able to support that migrations, doing all necessary translations of whatever it is, for example, Google Forms into an Excel sheet, right? That is BitTitan and migration is capable of having this effort. So document permissions, folder structure, shortcuts, document history, and G Suite native files. So this is what is migrated. And about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, don't mind exactly about it was recent, we launched Google Share Drives. These are team drives within Google. So this is our latest offering where we are able to migrate the files, the folder structure, permission versions, basic metadata shortcuts migrated, and then the Google proprietary format type conversation. So all that is being maintained during the migration. I'll pause again here from a Google to M365 migrations.
Good job. No, nothing. I think.
Good.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Hi, thanks. I wanted to know if you can migrate. Well, okay, migrate the Google Drive file straight to SharePoint.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, I do believe we can. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on. So how is the migration done, and what are the risks on that? How is actually the tool architected to support your migration? The tool is a copy tool. It's not a sync tool. It does require minimal requirements are admin credentials on the source, admin credentials to the destination, and we have also capability to discover users, or the other way is just a CSV file with the source email and destination email. The tool cannot create a Microsoft Office 365 tenant to create the users, to license the users, to set up the AD. All that is things that you'll have to do before the migration. So we are only a copy-paste tool. So with the fact that we are not a sync tool, this means that we are a tool point in time. That means that you can actually ask the tool to migrate data from a specific date, onwards, backwards, etc. So the most common one is the first one, which is the pre-stage migration, which I heavily advise most of my customers, because this really is the method to minimize any end user impact, right? We don't want the customer to have any impact post the migration. So that said, what we're doing is we're copying first the data older than a period of time. We typically advise 90 days. However, you can choose between 30, 60, or 2 years ago. It's regardless. You can choose what the time that is. The users will be using their source environment. In the background, what is happening is that BitTitan is copying and pasting the data. Within this process, we're not storing the data. What we're storing is a watermark. It's an identifier that an item was migrated. And this is typically what we do. We take a very small piece of the header level and we store that watermark in the database. After that pre-stage migration has been completed, you can schedule your MX record, or if it's a larger project, you can actually set up a mail forward to the destination, and then you will run a full migration. Let's call this, it's a similar to a delta, but it's not really a delta, and I'll explain why. The full migration will go back to check the watermark we have done from a pre-stage migration, and then start migrating the recent data. So it is a delta, but just from an architectural perspective, I like to tell you that actually we'll go backwards to check everything has been migrated, and then we'll start migrating the data that's recent. So the watermark is the way we work around the duplication. We don't want to have duplicate items. Please, I would like to put an asterisk here. If an item was changed at the source after the pre-stage migration was performed, it might result in a duplicate email. I'll give you an example. My mailbox is being migrated, and I have a folder called Michal. The pre-stage migration was run, the folder was called Michal. However, before the full migration is completed, I don't like Michal anymore, and I rename it to Itzik. When the full migration is being ran, it will come to a new folder, which is called Itzik. It is not going to be so intelligent to remember that actually that folder was before called Michal. It will actually recopy it. So at the destination, there will be two folders. One will be Michal, the other one will be Itzik with the same content. So definitely a good communication plan towards the users before the migration, not to make heavy changes on the mailbox. Hence, that's why we advise do a pre-stage 90 days, because typically users don't go back to items that are older than 90 days. I'm not saying it might not happen, but the risk is really low. So minimizing that risk. Just like the pre-stage migration, there is what we call a quick switch, where that is basically the opposite of pre-stage migration. You first move recent data, meaning calendar, contacts, tasks, notes with 30 days. And then you leave, you cut over the users, and then you start filling the rest of the old data within the destination environment. This is entirely up to you guys to decide how it is. I've seen it just a couple of times when customers were in pressure of time to move to the destination, and they had to do this. But 95%, I would say, of our migrations are happening with the pre-stage migration. And with that said, I will pause for a second again and see if you guys have any questions. And I'll assume that this is a no. All right, so how can we help you? So we have 27 days, I'm sorry, 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, free support. Free support is via support ticketing system where you can raise a ticket or write an email at support@bittitan.com. Typically our SLA is 24 hours, but we always try to respond in a faster manner. You also have dedicated pre-sales training and onboarding, so feel free to reach out to Michal. She'll make sure that she books time with me so that we can onboard you and train you on the solution. So please feel free to reach out. Should you not feel comfortable using our tools, I will strongly advise that you work with Michal on professional services. Bezeq International is able to help you there as well. Should you feel not comfortable using a tool for migration or you don't have resources, they have the services to support you here as well. That said, what are our licenses? We have two types of licenses. One type of license is per user base, and the other one is per workload. So I'll first start with the first two. The first one is user migration bundle. It's the most popular license. It is per user and expires in 1 year from the date of purchase. So you have a whole year to perform the migration, and you don't have any hidden charges in here. So you have the capability to migrate the mailbox, the drive, the personal archive, and the Outlook configuration. So this is typically very common in the tenant to tenant, where you have Exchange Online, you have the archive, you have the OneDrive, and you have the Outlook configuration in there. For the G Suite, same thing. Google Mail, Google Drive, and the G Vault per user base, you will be able to use the user migration bundle. The second license is Mailbox license. It can migrate only mail with a 50 gigabytes limit. Obviously, content calendars, tasks, notes, yada, yada, all that is being supported. So the difference between user migration bundle and Mailbox is that the user migration bundle can migrate most of the workloads with no limit from a data perspective, where Mailbox can migrate only the mail with 50 gigabytes limit. Third one is collaboration license. Now we're moving into workloads. It's no longer per user. It has a 100 gigabyte per team limit, meaning that you have to understand how many teams you have, and based on that, have the collaboration license. I have not yet seen anybody who has exceeded 100 GB per team, but just in case, check that somebody has more than 100. If some teams have more than 100 gigabytes, then they will need 2 licenses. Moving down left bottom corner, shared document license. This is for the migrations of SharePoint Online to SharePoint Online, and as well Google Shared Drives to SharePoint Online. The data limit here is 50 gigabytes, where we license per shared document library for SharePoint, and the Google Shared Drive, how many Google Shared Drives you have. So that's the way it's licensed. Last but not least, public folder. It's 10 gigabytes per license, meaning that if you have 37 gigabytes of data, you would need 4 licenses to migrate. So it's 10 gigabytes. One of the not so fun migrations, in my opinion. It's always very painful, but we will be able to help you with that public folder migration. And with that, I will be moving to Michal if there are no other questions.
אוקיי, אז חזרנו לעברית. עכשיו איך אנחנו מזמינים בעצם אצלנו בפורטל דקת עבודה. אנחנו פשוט עושים sign in ל-IT Factory. זלאטה, please continue. אוקיי, אנחנו יוצרים את החברה בעצם ב-New Company, כמו שאנחנו עושים לשאר המוצרים שלנו. Go on. אוקיי, ו-Add Service, המפתח השוודי למטה, מכניס אותנו לכאן, בסרצ' אני פשוט מתחילה להקליד את שם הרישיון שאנחנו רוצים, ו-Next. אוקיי, כאן ה-Terms and Conditions, התנאים של BitTitan, שעליהם פשוט, אם מקלידים Next, אז אנחנו ממשיכים ומסכימים להם. So, let's click Next. אוקיי, דני, you joined just on time. ומקלידים את הכמות של הרישוי, and next again. Go to created service, so click next please. ופה מתקבל, סימנתי בכוכבית, הקופון קוד, שאיתו אנחנו בעצם נכנסים לפורטל של BitTitan, ומתחילים את המיגרציה. And here we begin the migration with the coupon code that we received from that site.
And let me move now to the website. There is somebody who's not muted, if you don't mind, if you could just mute yourself. Thank you very much. All right, so once you get the coupon code, Michal, thank you very much. You made it look very, very easy with next, next, next. Now we're going to migration with. So once you get the coupon code, the first step is, if you haven't done it already, is to register yourself on bittitan.com/account/register. So this is pretty much, and I will make sure if you want to provide this link. What you would need is the first name, last name, email address, phone number, and country, and you will click create account. In the moment, doesn't matter what are you going to choose here, migration with or MSP complete. I'll explain you what both of those are. In the moment you click create account, you will receive a confirmation link. Please check your junk, your spam folders. Sometimes we end up there. And you will be asked to put in a password. And this is the way you're going to create that account. I'll now go ahead and sign in and show you. So where you have actually landed right now is MSP Complete. You might end up on Migration Wiz. In order to navigate between the two UIs, you will do it from the top left corner, Migration Wiz or MSP Complete. Now, what's the difference between them? The MSP Complete, it's your managing portion of your project, meaning licenses and people from your end that will be working on the project. Migration Wiz is the platform that performs the migration. So that is the SaaS solution that does the magic. MSP Complete is the only managing of licenses. So let's go and I'll just tell you exactly the two places where you will be logging in it. And these are the two last ones here, people and settings. So let's go first on the setting. We'll go from the bottom to top, just in the spirit of staying within this. Coupon codes. So the work group, you can actually rename your work group. You can call it, Michal work group or Bezeq International Migration Factory. You can decide how to call it. So everybody here you'll see that it will be the workspace. The next tab, you will see the licenses that have users that have been licensed, and I will go dive. It will make much more sense as we speak later. How many licenses you had. Once you've purchased them, you can find them here. But the most important thing is to redeem the coupon code. Redeeming the coupon code is claiming the order into your account. As you can see, I've given Bezeq International 2 licenses. So the coupon code that Michal received, she goes in here, she goes redeem, paste, check. So this is pretty much what is going to happen. You're going to get your coupon code from Alza platform, and then come here, redeem it, and you've claimed your order. They're already in the workspace, so you can now start working. So this is in essence. Once you have redeemed, you will be able to see them here in licenses. As you start using them, you will see on which users you have started using them. So in this way, you will be able to achieve that. The other very important bits of it is the people, which is the people that you're working with, right? So God forbid, somebody gets sick or is on maternity leave or is on holiday simply, the best way is just to invite that person into the work group that you have set up. So it's very simple. You just go invite agents, you select a role. I would heavily advise it administrator, because administrator is the only person that actually has access to Migration Wiz. You put their email, you invite them, they'll receive a notification. Again, make sure they check the spam and junk folder, confirm, and they will be part of the workspace, meaning that they will be able to continue the migration even though you're away. Any questions so far on MSP Complete before I dive into the fun part of Migration Wiz?
Thank you very much.
So as I said, in order to move between the Migration Wiz and MSP Complete, top left corner, select Migration Wiz, and you will sit on it. As you can see, I'm part of quite a bit of work groups here. And the one that I will be going through is the EMEA demo. This is the one that is set up. I can also see some recent projects I have worked on, recently completed, recently failed migrations, which is not fun, but we'll look into those as well, and a bit of the license overview over here as well into Migration Wiz. But let's go to my projects. So these are 5 projects that I have. I will go ahead today and set up with you Exchange Online tenant-to-tenant migration. It's very simple. I'll click Create Project. Come on, create. Let me refresh. There you go. Now, for every single workload, if you can still remember the slide that I showed you, there was Mail, and there was Drive, and there was Archive, and then there was Public Folder, and there was Teams. Every single project has to be set up separately, all right? So for Exchange Online to Exchange Online, obviously Mailbox project. G Suite, Gmail, I'm sorry, to Exchange Online, Mailbox. Google Drive to OneDrive, what project would you set up? It would be a document project. So that's the drill around it. It doesn't take too long. Once you have started doing it one, it will just go with the other one. So let's go Mailbox project. And let's enter the name. We're going to call it Bezeq International Demo, all right? And I can create my customer here. We are not doing any checks here. This is just to identify your project. So even if I put a Mickey Mouse in here right now, the system will accept it. This is just to create the projects in case you are delivering multiple projects at the same time, to identify them. So it absolutely doesn't matter what you're going to put in here. So I'm going to go like that. As you can see, the system already accepted it. I'm going to go Bezeq International. And then the rest of the fields are optional. Primary, secondary, city, primary industry, whatever. It's up to you to choose whether you want to put that in. That said, I've chosen now Bezeq International. I'll go next. And now I come to the concept of creating endpoints. Endpoints are connecting points. So in this case, it will be Exchange Online to Exchange Online. And I will go ahead and create a new one from a source perspective. So I'm going to say Office 365. Source, selected. And here you can see all of them, right? If you want, I'll zoom a little bit so you can see Exchange Service 2003 Plus, Google Group-wise, IMAP, Lotus Notes, Office 365, Office 365 Group, POP, Zimbra 6 Plus. So you just select what you're going to need. Select Office 365, and then you'll have to provide credentials. As I mentioned earlier, for Office 365 to Office 365, we require admin credentials with access to the users that need to be migrated. That's pretty much. For the Google super admin credentials is what you will need to do here. I'll go ahead and select. I do apologize. I'll have to just go back because I selected the wrong customer here. Bear with me. Let's go again. I've already set up the source, so I don't have to waste time here. There you go. We go next. And we're going to do the same thing for the destination. You're going to put Office 365 destination, select Office 365, put the credentials, same drill, same thing. And here it is, mine, which I've already saved earlier. Now we go save and go to summary. We will give you really nice guides. And this is also a very important thing to understand. We have a very extensive knowledge base, so step-by-step guides on everything that needs to be migrated. So here it is, migration guides. And here you can choose what you want. Am I migrating from Google? You go into the Google Workspace migrations. If you're from Microsoft, tenant to tenants or OneDrives, Dropbox, everything is heavily documented. So let's go, for instance, into Exchange Online, just to give you a sense of how does a migration guide look. Basically, everything is here. How to prepare your source, how to prepare your destination, how to create a CSV file, the migration with steps. So basically, everything I'm showing you today, it's heavily documented, described, how to do a cutover, how to do a delta, and how to do what are the activities post-migration. So it's helped up BitTitan.com that you should go and check. If you don't know exactly the guides, please feel free to let me know. I'll be more than happy to guide you to the right guides. Now, that said, the next step is actually to add your users, right? Excellent. We have now the endpoints, and here are 4 ways. I typically advise the last 2, but I will go over the 4. The first is add from MSP Complete. These are already users that you have migrated in the past, and now you want to migrate, for example, OneDrive. You have migrated the mail. They're already licensed. You can add them from MSP Complete. Quick add. This is 1 by 1. Maybe you can use it for 1 or 2 users. If you have a migration, you just put in the source email and destination email. However, if you have 100 users, I don't think that's a good idea. It's going to take you quite a bit of time to do that. Hence, I'm coming to the last 2. Bulk add, where you can download the CSV file. I'll just download it for you so you can have a look on how it looks like. And all you have to import are the source and destination emails. These 2. That's all you need to do. And we have actually marked them for you. So there is source email and destination mail. So you do not need to provide the source password of every single user because you're using those admin credentials in the first step that we have done. Typically, sometimes if you're migrating from a hoster, the hoster doesn't want to provide the source credentials. You can put the source email and you can say to the tool, can you please request from the user passwords? What will happen is Migration Wiz will send an email to the user and say, hey, Bezeq International wants to migrate you. Please put in your password and they will do it, and they will input it. Obviously, it's a layer of complexity, but at the same time, with proper preparation for the users will know that there will be a migration that will happen and they will expect an email from BitTitan. Last but not least, auto discover. This is the best one. We're going to match all the users based on prefixes, all the users, and basically create the migration project for you. And that is how a project migration will look at the end. So as you can see, there are shared mailboxes. Emily's here. There is a conference room. There is Christine, Alan, Alex, and Adele that are in this project to get migrated. I have run this on purpose because I wanted you to see how does actually a failed migration, an error look like, how does it complete it, and what is a completed verification. So let's just dive into it to show you how to run a migration. You select the users, and the first thing you'll have to do is license them. So if you have bought the user migration bundle, you'll have to select them and click apply user migration bundle. So the fact that earlier we redeemed the coupon code in MSP Complete, it does not say that the users have to start migrating. So redeeming is just claiming your order. Here it is actually an extra step to say to the tool, please, I want these users to be migrated. So you will apply the user migration bundle on the users and it should say at the end, yes, right? It takes a couple of minutes. Please keep on refreshing it just takes 2 minutes for it to propagate on the users. Once you have done that, I will heavily advise that you run a verified credential. Verified credentials is where we will establish the connection between the source and destination and ready for migration. 99.9%, if you have passed this, you're ready to start. So definitely run a verified credential before commencing a migration. And now here is the pre-stage migration where I spoke earlier. As you can see, we will migrate only the mail content here. And if you want the Teams private chat, you can select 30, 60, 90 days or any specific time. So that is, as I told you earlier, once this has kicked off, you will see the status here. How is it progressing? How is it moving for the migration? So let's go and look just quickly on one, just to give you a sense on what an error looks like. Your migration failed while checking source destination. The SMTP address has no mailbox associated with this. So in other words, yeah, most probably the mailbox is not existing, which is true. I did not create that. That'll be on the source environment. So we will provide you information about what errors there are. This is a completed verification. So here it is how it looks like when we have completed and verified the credentials. Verified credentials successful. So the tool is ready to start the migration. And here it looks like how it is when it's completed and full, right? You're going to have calendar logging, deletions, discovery, holds, all the folders. No items were migrated. Please check if the source envelope contains data. I just created the folders, like you can see. Over here, you can see how long it took for the whole thing to happen. Font statistics, time spent source, destination. The source types is very interesting to see what kind of content we have created, how much mail. In this case, I had folders and mail, and the destination types as well. So that is really nice to see. Once the pre-stage migration has been completed, you will go select the users, go back to the same place and run a full migration. So this is literally that Delta migration we spoke earlier. And here now you'll see that we're pointing and telling you that we'll actually migrate the notes, the rules, the contacts, the journals, the tasks, the notes, and everything that we have calendars that we have spoken earlier about. Again, you will be looking at it here, and it will tell you how the migration is progressing. And I'll pause here for a second and open to questions.
Hi, I have a question. Yesterday we made some project from GSUIT to 365. Now, after a lot of investigating, we found that because we choose the GSUIT API and not the IMAP, so we got some error with the contact and calendar. I want to ask if you can please show the right way to make it happen. It's the easiest way that I can imagine. I mean, I have a big project. I need to do from GSUIT to 365. IMAP or the API is from the cloud platform service. So this is less or more what I understood. Can you show, please, step by step how to do it, or it's not to this demonstration?
So you just to get it correctly, you use the API for Google or the IMAP connector?
First, I used the API. And,
okay.
After that, we saw a lot of error with the calendar and contact. So we try a lot of things. In the bottom of the line, we got it with the IMAP solution, not the API. So the API, as I understood, it's only if you have the cloud, the Google Cloud Platform.
Correct.
In our case, this customer didn't have any license. So this is why all the time the contact and the calendar just failed.
Got it.
Now I want to know if you can show me step by step what I need to do from.
Yeah, the challenge that I have is that I don't have an IMAP credentials to show you. However, if you leave your contacts directly to me, I will book a meeting today with with myself and one of my colleagues so that we can set up the project directly with you with the credentials that you have, because I don't have credentials right now. I'll be pleased. I can show you how it is exactly done from a perspective. Let me just go here, Bezeq International next. Google IMAP, here it is. I've got to enter a domain and a super admin user that I don't have. I don't have these credentials right now. But if you want, just leave me your contact, and today afternoon we can book a meeting with yourself.
That's great. I will send you the contact.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Can I give a positive review?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then I've been using the portal for several years now, and it's getting it to run for the first time is quite complicated. But once you get the hang of things, the best migration tool in the market, to my opinion.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, and
we tried G Suite, we tried Office 365, we tried everything, and everything works perfectly.
I'm really glad to hear that. I agree with you. It's a bit complicated until you get MSP Complete, Migration Wiz, where to click, where to go.
Exactly.
But once you get it the first time, and that's why I like to book that onboarding call for the first time, right? So we can show you, click here, click there, do this, do that. And then pretty much every other migration will be very similar to the other ones. And please correct me if I'm wrong. If you're doing a G Suite or you're doing a tenant to tenant, you're exchanging from whatever, it's pretty same steps, right?
Exactly. I simply save the copy of the template, and now I know I have a template for G Suite, for Office 365, whatever. Now I just complete the details, and it simply works.
That's the point of it, right? Obviously, it's technology, right? We will run every single source and destination behaves in a different way, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a bit more complex, yeah, we're more than happy to always, get to provide our best practices or ask somebody who has already done it, and provide feedback on what are the best practices on that. And as the Mr. that spoke earlier, sometimes it works Google API, but the good is that we have an alternative to that, and we have an IMAP, and yeah, we can try with that to understand how will that work out. And
I think that if I may, one more thing, I think one of the biggest advantages of BitTitan is that you can use, if you're migrating from hosted exchange or somewhere that you don't have the credentials, the admin credentials. If you have the admin credentials, that's great. You're on a good way. But if you don't have the admin credentials, then you would need to simply type in the user's credentials, and it will work as well. And this is very useful when you don't have the admin, when you don't have access to the exchange platform.
Yes, that is a super useful one. We're currently running hosted exchange to Office 365 migration with 7,000 users, and the hoster did not want to provide the admin because they were unhappy that they're losing business.
Exactly.
So what they did was they just imported those passwords, or the other way, we can actually send an email to the user themselves and tell them, hey, please put your password in there, and it will just kick off, right? The migration will start. But you're completely right. We're seeing that very, very often lately. And thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something new today. And with that, I would like to tell everybody that for everybody who stayed today, they will get one user migration bundle, one collaboration license, and one shared document license to try the migration full blown, whether you have a Google or whether you have a tenant or whether you have an Exchange on-prem, to feel the tool. If you have not used it, as the gentleman, please feel free to reach out to me or to Michal, we can book an hour with you and walk you through step by step with your test environment so you can try the tool yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Zlata.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
And with that, we have 6 more minutes. I can stay on the bridge for any other questions. If you don't have any other questions, I can give you back your 6 minutes. But if you want, I can stay here.
Can you double it?
Can I double it? Sure. If you do have the questions, I can stay for another 12 minutes, 15.
I have a little question, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Is the migration from Google is only relevant to G Suite or to a regular Gmail account as well?
You mean the free ones, right?
Ones.
That is not business.
So it's not included, right?
It's not included. If it's not
Okay.
business, we cannot support it. We used to, but Google have updated that API and they blocked us from migrating those free users.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I did want to add something that sometimes from migrating from Google, you do have to walk through your instructions. They're very, very, very specific, and they're very specific authorization that needs to be done in the actual Google platform for everything to work. It's not as simple as that.
That is correct. That is correct. Are you talking about the Google API or the IMAP?
I did an IMAP, but I'm pretty sure that I had to place some with the actual API. If I'm not mistaken, then I did have to go into the security and place some with some of the instructions there, and it did work eventually. But at first, completely didn't work. You have to go through your instructions, and they're very specific. If you see the fail message and you go to your instructions, then you definitely see how to resolve everything.
That is correct. Yeah. So from an IMAP perspective, what I can tell you is that you would need auth authorization 2.0. I'm sorry, to authenticate on the G Suite side. So it will work from an IMAP perspective. When it's a Google API, then you'll have to go into the Google Cloud Platform Console. I think it was menu and then API and services and then library and enable those as well. So there are a bit of steps to be done on the source perspective to understand how to set it up. But as you said, I think in all the documentations we have that. However, if you don't feel like reading, we can actually book a meeting and we can go through the settings ourselves with yourself to play on the source environment. So most of the time when a migration is failing, it is the source destination settings rather than the tool itself to start migrating, right? So it's those activities that you have to do on the source and destination to optimize those environments to commence the migration itself. But we can help with those as well. And just for my benefit, do you guys mostly see only mail being migrated, but also drives are in scope, teams are in scope? Do you typically see only mail as being mission critical?
Usually
Can
only
you
mail
repeat the
in my
question?
case.
Yeah,
I
Daniel.
wanted to know if we could use the tool in some other way, in some other product, with some other product.
My question is, how often do you guys see only mail, or you also see the drive and the teams and the SharePoint also part of it, like from a market perspective on your side, or is it most of the time mail only?
Most of the time, it's mail, only mail. Most of the time.
Got it. Interesting. And where are documents being stored then?
File saver.
Oh, file servers, and they keep on, and they stick to the file servers rather than moving to.
Yes, my clients, yes, completely.
Got it. Interesting.
I think that also for us, the best way to deal with the file servers is to just copy it by yourself and make sure that everything. No, I think that's the best thing to do. Deal with it yourself and not use migration tool for this.
All right. And do you do it manually, or do users do it by themselves?
I do it manually.
You do it manually. All right. That is a heavy work.
Not too much. I think it's safer for me.
What do you mean safer?
To copy it by yourself, not use a migration tool, because I have full access to the data, so I copy it.
You just copy it.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
איך אתם מזמינים?
תן לי ספורט.
איזה קרציהו? אני אזמין.
אתה מזמין?
Was there a question?
No, I think you answered all. I think.
Good. Good. If any questions pop up, Michal and I are here to help. Expect an email from Michal with the PPT and as well as the coupon codes that we have promised, the recording. And obviously, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll be happy to help here.
Thanks
Thank you very
again.
much for your time.
Thank you. Have a
Bye
good
bye.
day, everybody. Be well.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.